Joining His Holiness Candramauli Swami Maharaj's daily class. I welcome all of you. Today we are continuing with our Srimad Bhagavatam study of second canto, fourth chapter, the process of creation, and today's verse is number 16. And we are very happy to have Maharaj on the call. And Hare Krishna Maharaj, my humble obeisances to you. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for your time and association. I'll share my screen again. Yes, Maharaj, please take over. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Vichaksana Yat Charano Pashadanat. Sangam Vyadyasyo Bhayatortha Atmanaha. Vedantihi Brahma Gatim Gata Klamas. Tasmai Subhadra Shravase Namo Namaha. Let me offer my respectful obeisances again and again unto the all-auspicious Lord Shri Krishna, the highly intellectual, simply by surrendering unto his lotus feet, are relieved of all attachment to present and future existences, and without difficulty progress towards spiritual existence. Purport. Lord Sri Krishna has repeatedly instructed Arjuna, or for that matter everyone concerned with becoming his unalloyed devotee. In his last phase of his instructions in Bhagavad-gita, 1864 through 66, instructed most confidentially as follows: Sarvaguya tamam bhuyam srinome paramam vacham istasi me dridham iti tato vyakshami te hitam manmano bhavamad bhaktam mam yaji mam namaskuru mame vaishyasi satyam te pratijano priyosi me sarva dharmam pariksedhyam mam mekam sharanam vaja aham tvam sarvapapebhyo moksha yashyami ma suchaha. My dear Arjuna, you are very dear to me, and therefore only for your good I will disclose the most secret part of my instructions. It is simply this: become a pure devotee of mine and give yourself unto me only, and I promise you full spiritual existence, by which you may gain the eternal right of transcendental loving service unto me. Just give up all other ways of religiosity, exclusively surrender unto me, and believe that I will protect you from all your sinful acts, and I shall deliver you. Do not worry anymore. Persons who are intelligent take serious notice of this last instruction of the Lord. Knowledge of the self is the first step in spiritual realization, which is called confidential knowledge. And a step further is God realization, which is called more confidential knowledge. The culmination of knowledge of Bhagavad-gita is God realization. When one attains this stage of God realization, he naturally, voluntarily becomes a devotee of the Lord to render him loving, transcendental service. Mataji, can you take over reading the purport?
Hare Krishna. Yes, Maharaj. This devotional service to the Lord is always based on love of God and is distinct from the nature of routine service as prescribed in Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, or Dhyana Yoga. In the Bhagavad-gita, there are different instructions for such men of different categories, and there are various descriptions for Varnashrama Dharma, Sannyasa Dharma, Yati Dharma, the renounced order of life, controlling the senses, meditation, perfection of mystic powers, etc. But one who fully surrenders unto the Lord to render service unto Him, out of spontaneous love for Him, factually assimilates the essence of all knowledge described in the Vedas. One who adopts this method very skillfully attains perfection of life at once, and this perfection of human life is called Brahmagati, or the progressive march in spiritual existence. As enunciated by Srila Jiva Goswami on the basis of Vedic assurances, Brahmagati means to attain a spiritual form as good as that of the Lord, and in that form, the liberated living being eternally lives on one of the spiritual planets situated in the spiritual sky. Attainment of this perfection of life is easily available to a pure devotee of the Lord without his undergoing any difficult method of perfection. Such a devotional life is full of kirtanam, smaranam, ikshanam, etc., as mentioned in the previous verse. One must therefore adopt this simple way of devotional life in order to attain the highest perfection available in any category of the human form of life in any part of the world. When Lord Brahma met Lord Krishna as a playful child at Vrindavana, he offered his prayer in which he said, Shreya Shritim Bhaktim Udasyate Vibho Klishyanti Ye Kevala Bodhalabdaye Teshamasau Kleshala Eva Sishyate Nanyad Yatha Sthula Tusavagat Ghatinam. Bhagavatam 10.14.4. Bhakti Yoga is the highest quality of perfection to be achieved by the intelligent person in lieu of performing a large quantity of spiritual activities. The example cited here is very appropriate. A handful of real paddy is more valuable than heaps of paddy skins without any substance within. Similarly, one should not be attracted by the jugglery of Karma Kanda or Jnana Kanda or even the gymnastic performances of yoga, but skillfully should take to the simple performances of Kirtanam, Smaranam, etc., under a bona fide spiritual master and without any difficulty attain the highest perfection.
Gyan Mirandasya Gyanajana Salakaya Chaksun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimakti Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvasesa Sunyavari Pastyatya Desatarine Vanchakalpatarubhischa Kripa Sindhu Pe Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaho Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So in the very last chapter, towards the end of that chapter, Krishna gives assurance. Anyone who surrenders unto him will get full protection and will eventually achieve progress, brahmagati, towards the highest goal of life, back home, back to Godhead, or pure devotional service. Krishna recited verses 1863 through 1865. 1864 through 1866. And 1865 is the key verse because he gives what is devotional service made up of. Manmana bhavamad bhakto mam yaji mam namaskuru mam nivaisasi satyam te vrajijano priyosi me. And then in this translation, you'll see one of the principles has been enunciated, and that is manmana. Manmana bhavamad mam yaji mam nivaisasi. Manmana bhavamad bhakto mam yaji mam nivaisasi. Mam nivaisasi satyam te pradijano. Always think of me, become my devotee, offer your obeisances and worship me. Surely you will come to me. I promise you this, because you're my dear friend, Priyosi me. You're very dear to me. So what Krishna is saying is four things. Think of me, Madmana. Become my devotee, Mad Bhakto. worship me, Mam Yaji, and offer your obeisances to me. So in this translation here, we see Namaskaru is mentioned, just simply offering obeisances to Krishna. This is a thing that we do quite regularly when we come into the temple or when we come in contact with devotees, we offer obeisances. Sometimes people think it's just a ritual for greeting, but it's much, much more than that. It's actually the way by which the consciousness of the living entity becomes purified. By offering obeisances, we are acknowledging Krishna within the heart of another living entity, and we're also offering respects to that pure soul which is in the heart also. But when it's offered to Krishna, as is mentioned in this verse, it is the complete form of submission. So therefore, one should understand how important it is to offer obeisances. There's two ways to offer obeisances, 5-point and 11-point. 5-point means 2 hands, 2 feet, and the head. Or you might say 2 knees. 5 points. And then dandavats means 11-point, the whole body flat on the ground. Either way, dandavats seems to be more of a complete surrender mood. Of course, generally women don't perform that one because of their bodily structure. But still, if they perform the 5-point one and understand that this offering obeisances is one of the most important parts of purifying the consciousness and coming to the understanding that I am a servant. And I'm acknowledging Krishna as the supreme personality of Godhead, the cause of all causes. Therefore, he is respectable in all cases. And so just to feel respect is not enough. We have to actually show how that respect is given. And that is called namaskaru, or offering obeisances. So that's one of the 4 things that Krishna mentions as the complete process. He says, always think of me. We have to think of something. Srila Prabhupada would emphasize this point by saying, the mind has to think of something. So why not think of Krishna? And if you think of Krishna, then you're connecting with Krishna through the process of the mind or thought process. Therefore, you're bringing Krishna into the mind simply by thinking about him. Thinking about him can be understood in chanting his holy name or meditating on a form of the Lord within the mind. These both are what we say acceptable ways of thinking of Krishna. Sometimes people think, if I think of Krishna, how will I get anything done? Actually, if you think of Krishna, you'll get everything done. And not only get done, but it'll be done in a better way. Because when you bring Krishna into your consciousness, everything becomes easy and natural. So thinking of Krishna, Krishna puts that first out of all of the 4 here. Think about me. And then he says, Mad Bhakto, that means become my devotee. That means render service to me. And render service to me. And of course, there's 9 angas by which one can offer service, hearing about, chanting about, remembering, worshiping, offering prayers, serving the lotus feet, surrendering everything, becoming a friend to the Lord, becoming a sold-out servant of the Lord, willing to perform any service required. These 9 processes are the recommended processes by which one can surrender to Krishna in devotional service. And one or more of them are qualified. One, or actually any one of them, are qualified to give us pure Krishna consciousness if we develop it. But the most important one is to hear. We were mentioning that yesterday in our discussion. Because through hearing, then one can understand how to chant, how to serve, how to worship, how to pray, how to surrender. What are the means by which one can enact the service comes through the process of hearing, which is the process of obtaining transcendental knowledge. And of course, chanting is also essential in all of the 9 processes, because Lord Chaitanya has emphasized Yuga Dharma. Chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra cannot be sidelined and put into another category of lesser. It has to be also part of any one of these other 8 processes. So become a devotee of the Lord and render service to the Lord. Mam Yaji means to worship the Lord in different ways. We worship the Lord by going to the temple. We worship the Lord by for going to different festivals in honor of the Lord, such as Janmastami, Radhastami, Gaur Purnima, Ram Nomi. All of these festivals are ways to worship the Lord in a particular form that He manifests. And of course, one can worship the Lord at home and with their deities also, and worship in the temple. And then, of course, there's other forms of worship that are also recommended according to their certain spiritual occasions and certain family responsibilities also. So worshiping in the Lord is also one of the main things. And the Namaskaru we mentioned, offering obeisances to the Lord. So these 4 things, and then after mentioning these 4 things, Krishna says, all right, and now you think you may have some idea how you can make progress in spiritual life. You've read so many books, you heard so many things about God, and now you're going to take up some of these things in order to make progress. Krishna says, forget it. This verse, Sarvadharma Pradiksham, he says, abandon all varieties of religion. What does he mean by saying all varieties of religion? All of these religious practices that you may undergo are really just diverting your attention from the real thing, and surrender to me. What is to surrender to me, to Krishna, means is to be working under the guidance of Krishna through the spiritual master, and be eager, not only willing, but eager to carry out any instruction that is required for one's execution of devotional service. And that is surrender. And Krishna says, Ma Suchaha. The Acharyas give 3 meanings for that. Krishna says, one of them, he says, don't worry. Here it's mentioned, don't worry. But then it says, don't hesitate and don't fear. These are the 3 meanings of Ma Suchaha. Don't worry, don't hesitate, don't fear. Simply, I will take care of you. I guarantee you, and all of your sinful activities, which you are destined to receive the results of, will also be annihilated by the surrendering process. So Krishna, and this verse is considered to be fundamental to the process of devotional service. We have so many ideas what God wants, how to serve God, what can I do to make progress in spiritual life. Krishna says, forget all these things. Just surrender to me. I'll take care of you. I'll purify you from all your sinful activities. I'll protect you from falling back down into the material energy. So Krishna gives complete care of his devotee in all area, one who surrenders to Krishna. So the surrender is really learning the instructions of the spiritual master and following those instructions as one's foremost activity in life. It cannot be secondary. It cannot be side by side with something else. It has to be foremost, because our spiritual life is the foremost thing that we are actually existing. We exist on a spiritual platform. Our material life is something that we have to perform in order to keep the body and soul together so we can engage in devotional service. We have to feed the body, we have to clothe it, sleep it. There may also be some need for some relationships for family members. All of that has to be done in relationship, in support of the instructions of the spiritual master. And all of these things are somewhat necessary, but they are not the goal of life, and they can also be dispensed with if required. But ultimately, the instructions of the spiritual master, Yasya Devi Para Bhaktir, Yata Devi Tata Guru, Tasyaita Pratite Karta Prakasananti Mahatmanaha. That if you have complete faith in the instructions of the spiritual master and Krishna, not both, they're not contrary. Sometimes the spiritual master gives additional instructions that Krishna didn't give, but that's also coming from Krishna through his own realization of how he guides his devotee, and therefore he may give instructions. And therefore one should eagerly hear the instructions, get a clarification on how to carry them out, and be eager to carry them out, knowing that this is what we look for. I remember when we were first joined the Hare Krishna movement, and we were always hearing about Srila Prabhupada somewhere in the world. He was traveling, and then what he was doing was made known to all the devotees through the media. And devotees would just be hanging on every little innuendo about Prabhupada's activities, what he was saying, what he was doing, how he was instructing. We were so eager to hear, and if anything came our way, if there was any instruction that he gave us, like our temple or any of the devotees in the temple, it would be the greatest happiness for the devotee. Oh, Prabhupada's asking me to do this. Yes, I'm so fortunate. So devotees would do, and Prabhupada wouldn't give so easy things sometimes. Sometimes he would say, leave America and go to Europe, go to Germany, and open up the German yatra, start preaching there. He did that with 6 of his disciples, 3 Grihastha couples. He gave them some money, and he said, the money you have to pay back. He didn't just give it to them. He said, here's the money you need to get started, but once you get started, you have to pay me back. It wasn't like he was giving it. And they did after they got started. But when they opened up the whole London yatra, which later became the UK yatra, which was amazing. Only 3 Grihastha couples, only a couple years in the movement. 1 Malati and Shamsundar, Gaura Sundar, and what was the Malati and Guru Das and Jamuna, and who was the third couple? Can't remember the third one.
Mukunda Maharaj.
Mukunda, yes, and his wife, Mukunda and Janaki. Mukunda and Janaki. They were brand new in the movement, and they eagerly took on this difficult service of leaving everything, and just going to London, having no context at all. And they were living in a basement. And Malati was living in a box in the basement along with her child. But because Prabhupada wanted it, not only did they do it, but they were eager to do it, and they could see it. And a spiritual adventure. How can we spread Krishna consciousness? And it was amazing. Shamsundar met the Beatles, and from the Beatles gave them so much facilities, and things just started to blossom. And then sooner or later, we had a Rath Yatra in London, and the whole London Yatra started. And then we had Berry Place, 7 Berry Place, and it was a grand, amazing surrender by 3 household couples who, I mean, Prabhupada gave them $1,500 because in those days you couldn't get into London or the UK unless you could show you had some financials, some finances, because the UK authorities didn't want people coming in and just hanging around. They wanted people who could establish themselves. So you had to show money. So what they did was one couple came in, showed the money, took that same money and wired it to the second couple. The second couple had the money, showed it to the authorities, got in, and wired it to the third couple, and they all got in on that same $1,500. So, because they were so determined, Krishna gave them intelligence how to do things. And then, of course, Saraswati was there. She was only 6 years old. Malati had to take care of her at the same time while, trying to preach Krishna consciousness there. So devotees in those days, it was like that. Prabhupada said it, hey, let's do it. This will please Prabhupada. So we should also have that mood that whatever the spiritual master asks, we should consider our great fortune to receive that instruction. And it is, because ultimately it connects us with Krishna and it moves us closer to Krishna in devotional service. To please the spiritual master means to please the Krishna. Yasya Devi. I'm sorry. Yeah, what is it? What is that verse?
Yasya prasadat Bhagavad
Bhagavad
prasado.
Prasado, Yasya Prasadan Nagati Kutopi. By pleasing the spiritual master, please Krishna is pleased. And if one wants to bypass the spiritual master and go direct to Krishna, Nagati Kutopi, not possible. Nothing will manifest. So yeah, this is Krishna consciousness. And so the whole process centers around surrendering to Krishna by following the instructions of Krishna as it's explained by the spiritual master, who helps us understand these instructions in a very practical and doable way. Okay, so these are the things we can think about. This is a very nice series of verses that Krishna speaks in the Bhagavad-gita. And then this is pretty much the essence of all of the teachings that he gave before. He's summing everything up in these 3 verses. After speaking, 680 some verses, 690 verses practically, of all different philosophical terms, and educating Arjuna into the process of Krishna consciousness, and ultimately culminating in these verses as, okay, you've understood everything. And at the end, he said, all right, I've given you everything. Now think about it and do what you wish to do. Krishna leaves it up to us after he gives the assurance of success, whether we take it or we don't take it. And the same process is there because Srila Prabhupada is still there in his movement, in his devotees, in the process of bhakti. Prabhupada is still there guiding this movement, inspiring the movement, and bringing devotees closer and closer to Krishna consciousness through his mercy, as he's personally present still within the movement. Prabhupada was so determined to spread Krishna consciousness around the world that he decided to leave the world and spread Krishna consciousness in a less direct way and maybe in a more powerful way through his different energies and through his different instructions that he had already given. So we are not bereft of Srila Prabhupada's association, guidance, and direction. If we take those same directions from our spiritual master, and sometimes Srila Prabhupada, and many times, not just some, appears in the dreams of the devotees, or he gives the devotees direct instructions through his Murti form, or he gives direct instructions through some empowered devotee who imparts those instructions to us. So this movement is destined to spread around the world as it continues to do so. I'm seeing some of the most amazing things happen. Devotees are showing the outside world the glories of devotional service as they win so many awards for their execution of devotional service. I don't know all the details, but today I saw one devotee. He won a most prestigious award from the outside for his deep spirituality and his innovative presentation of that spirituality, which encompasses so many varieties of topics within that spirituality. So we were feeling so happy to see this devotee get these awards he was showing us today. It was amazing. So devotees are amazing persons because they've surrendered everything. And therefore, when you surrender to Krishna, Krishna takes charge. And when Krishna takes charge, the most amazing things happen. You can't even believe the things that happen when Krishna takes charge. It's like, these are like miracles by definition, but actually it's the empowerment of Krishna through his devotees.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you so much. Such a wonderful class. Thank you so much. Dear devotees, any questions or comments or realizations, you can please go ahead now. Please turn on your cameras if possible. Thank you. Yes, Maharaj. As you mentioned, yeah, Sridevi Mataji, please go ahead. We'll ask later.
Thank you, Srimati. Dear Guru Maharaj, please accept my most humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you for yet another illuminating class, Guru Maharaj. I have a question. When we say people surrender to Krishna, many people of Indian origin say, but in my family we worship, Ambika Mata. In my family we worship Ganesh. In my family we worship Mukhalinga Lingam. Like this, different names of demigods. And this is our family tradition. You're asking me to give up all this and just worship Krishna? How you're telling me to do like this? So how we can convince them?
Well, what does Krishna say in Bhagavad-gita 9:25?
I think persons of small intelligence worship the demigods.
No, that's in the 7th chapter, 9:25.
Oh, I can't remember. I can.
One second, Maharaj, I'm going there.
Yeah. This is correct, Krishna's direct statement. If these people have some piety, they automatically accept Krishna's words.
Yanti deva vrata devan, pitrin yanti pitri vrata. Okay.
Read it.
Yanti deva vrata devan, pitrin yanti pitri vrataha, bhutani yanti bhuteja, yanti madhyajinopi mam. Translation: those who worship the demigods will take birth among the demigods. Those who worship the ancestors go to the ancestors. Those who worship ghosts and spirits will take birth among such beings, and those who worship me will live with me.
Krishna makes it clear, according to how you worship, that will be your destination. So the demigods are simply limbs of the Supreme Lord for universal affairs. They may be able to grant some material benedictions. So these people are more or less focused on getting material benedictions. Therefore, they worship the demigods. But those who want to actually achieve the highest goal, that is, to become fully self-realized and purified from all material existence, attain to the spiritual world, they worship Krishna. So how you worship, you'll get that result accordingly. So this verse is clear. He names only four, including himself. Demigods, ancestors, and ghosts and spirits. So what is he mentioning? If you worship demigods, more like towards a mode of goodness, ancestors and our mode of passion, ghosts and spirits, mode of ignorance, the three modes. Those who worship me transcend all of the modes.
Yes, Guru Maharaj. I would like to just take one more question on that. Supposing we are preaching to an international audience and they're Christian, Muslims, Jews, Buddhists, whatever, and we say just surrender to Krishna, and they say, but I'm a Christian, but I'm a Muslim, I'm a Jew. What do we say to them?
Did you read that thing I sent on the conference today?
Actually, I didn't have access to Wi-Fi until this moment, Guru Maharaj, but I will.
Yeah, it's Tulsi Gabbard. She's in politics, but she's a devotee. And she's giving a lecture, I think in Washington, D.C., to a mixed group of people, mostly devotees. And she's mentioning how Srila Prabhupada emphasized worship of the Supreme Lord. And then she went on to explain how the Supreme Lord is known by different names in different traditions. And therefore, the ultimate principle is to worship the Supreme Lord accordingly. She emphasized her own worship as being Krishna, but she also made the point, emphasizing Prabhupada's statement, that it's about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who takes on different names, who is the same one personality of Godhead. So God is one. He's not many. There's one Supreme Lord. There's many lesser gods, but there's one Supreme Lord. Allah, Yahweh, Jehovah, and Krishna, like that. So different people worship the same Lord with different names, and maybe the nature of the worship is different. But the point is worship. And then she emphasized the importance of chanting the holy names of the Lord as the means by which one should worship. So in every religious scripture, there is statements about glorifying the Lord by chanting his name, singing his glories. So this is how we understand this principle. We don't try to change anyone. But if someone is not following their tradition, then we emphasize, well, if you say you are Christian or Muslim, are you following? And then you make certain points to indicate whether you're following. Kindness to all living beings is a religious principle that pervades all practices. So if you're eating meat, you're breaking that principle. You're not being kind to the lower living entities by allowing them to be killed so you can taste something that you may like to taste. So that is selfishness. It's also violence. So there's certain general principles that pervade all religious traditions, which are more or less basic. And if people are following them, then that's nice. That's authorized.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you. Amritanam Mataji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So, Guru Maharaj, just again a follow-up on what Sri Devi Mataji was saying. In India, mostly people are into either Shiva or either Shakti. Mostly. So, usually they one strong argument once I got it. I'm just talking about one incident that I faced. So one of the person, when I was preaching him, he gave me an analogy that if you have a father and you have been told that this is your father right from your childhood, and then when you grow up and once upon a time you suddenly tell him that, oh no, he is not your father is somebody else, then he will really go into a shock. It is very difficult for the person to accept that fact. So they were talking about us, or how we preach in ISKCON. So they say that when you say that, okay, Krishna is Supreme Lord, but when you say that, oh, suddenly to somebody who was already practicing some different things before, so it's like a shock for them. So how do we counteract this kind of arguments? I was a little baffled to.
The shock is based on ignorance. The scriptures thoroughly and continuously say Krishna's tu Bhagavan Swayam. Ete chamsam palom pumsam Krishna's tu Bhagavan Swayam. Ishwar Parma Krishna Satchidanandana Vigraha Nadir Nadir Govinda Sarva Karna Karnam Aham Sarvasya Prabhabo Mata Sabha. I mean, there are so many statements. So these people don't know scripture. They're cinemas, their worship based on family tradition without any real clear understanding of the reality. So if somebody poses as your father and then somebody reveals your real father to you, rather than being shocked, you should be happy. But because they're ignorant, they can't understand that. So they want to stay in that ignorant position. They don't want to know what is the actual, because it's too much for them to accept or change. So don't worry about it, and just leave them to their level of worship. But you're on mute again. You're in mute.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Please carry on, Guru Maharaj.
Yeah. So, but the reality is, and that cannot be changed by anyone's opinion. God is not somebody's opinion. It's God is God, and reality is given to us by God Himself and by those the pure devotees who have worshipped the Lord through scriptures, through gurus, through sadhu. So people don't want to know the truth because ignorance is bliss. And if you worship Krishna, that means you have to, give up certain things you might not want to give up. So the analogy that he gave you is just to stabilize his position as being ignorant. That's all. I'm shocked to know the truth. Therefore, please don't shock me, because I'm more happy knowing what is not the truth. You're on mute again.
Yes, Guru Maharaj, I got that that is actually ignorance, nothing else, and they don't want to come out of. And this, I guess, this is more because of the role of Mayavad. There's a huge role of Mayavad also in the
There's
country.
no,
So
they
many of
don't
them
have to
have influence.
surrender. They don't have to surrender. That's why. Nobody wants to surrender. They want to believe something when they want to believe and go on doing whatever they want to do. That's convenient. But Krishna says, Sarvadharma prediction, surrender. Lord Chaitanya says, chant the holy names, worship the Supreme Lord Krishna. People who are when we say inundated with all of this nonsense, they want to do their own thing. They don't want to surrender. In one sense, they're envious of God because God's going to take away their sense gratification. They don't want that.
Thank you so much for the clarity. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, so don't waste time with such people. I mean, you can say one or two things, but if it doesn't, if they can't hear, then say, well, all right. But Shastra is the authority. And Krishna himself mentions in the Gita that he's the supreme so many times. And Arjuna, in order to give that authority of Krishna's statement, he gives Krishna the position of, he says, Param Dhamma, Param Brahma, Param Brahma, Param Dhamma, Pavitram Vidam Uttamam. You are the Supreme Lord. You are the source of everything. And then he goes on to glorify Krishna. And then at the end, he says, turn to that verse, 10th chapter of Bhagavad-gita. It's really wonderful. After Krishna has given the authority of who he is, then he says, Krishna knows, but whatever he says, people are not going to believe. But if my devotee says it, then that has more potency. So 10th chapter, verse number 12. 12 and 13, I think, is together, both verses. There's two verses together. It's one of the most beautiful verses in the Bhagavad-gita. Param Brahma, Param Dhamma, Pavitram, Param Bhavam, Purusho Shasvatam, Divyam, Hari Deva Majam Vibhu, Ahustvam Risayar Sarve, Devarshir Narade, Tata, Asita Devaro Vyasa, Swayam Chaiva, Bivishi Me. Somebody read the translation.
Yes, Maharaj. Arjuna said, you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the ultimate abode, the purest, the absolute truth. You are the eternal, transcendental, original person, the unborn, the greatest. All the great sages such as Narada, Ashita, Devala, and Vyasa confirm this truth about you, and now you yourself are declaring it to me.
Yeah, so he confirms such great persons as Narada and Vyasadeva, the author of Vedas, Sita and Devala, great sadhus. They're all saying it, that Krishna is the Supreme Lord. They're confirming what Krishna is saying.
Yes, Kumash, this is a nice verse. Exactly.
Very
Thank
powerful.
you. Yes, yes.
Thank you, Maharaj. Sakshi Mataji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna to all the Vaishnavas. Maharaj, today I was listening to Srila Prabhupada's lecture and he was mentioning that the beginning of Bhakti Yoga is when you surrender unto the lotus feet of a spiritual master. And in one of the lectures by Srila Gaur Govind Swami Maharaj, he was speaking about different ways how a devotee surrenders to Guru. It could be a partial surrender, artificial surrender, and conditional surrender. So he said that we have to go to the level where we are 100% surrendered. So just wanted to know, before surrendering unto a Guru, do we have to be like 100% surrendered, or I mean, I'm a little confused here how the surrender process works.
Well, which one do you like? Conditional, partial?
No,
You choose.
100%.
No. You want 100%.
Yes.
You want 7%, then Krishna just gave it to us in the Bhagavad-gita. But okay, there we go. Go to verse 434 in the Bhagavad-gita.
Yes.
This is how you approach the spiritual master. And this is also the way into the process of surrender. It's actually the surrendering process, this verse. Word 34. Someone read?
Sakshi Mataji, you want to read?
Should I read, Guru Maharaj?
Yes, Amrita.
Yeah.
तद्विद्धि प्रणिपातेन परिप्रश्नेन सेवया उपदेक्ष्यन्ति ते ज्ञानिनस्तत्त्वदर्शिनः. Translation by Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth.
So there's 3 points here. Inquire submissively, rendering service, and there's one more. The word is, go back to the to the word for word. There's 3 words. Pariprashyena, submissive inquiry. Pratipatena, by approaching a spiritual master. That means one has to approach not in a challenging way, but in a way that one is eager to learn submissively. And then ask questions, and then sevaya. The last one is sevaya. Where is that? By rendering service. So you approach the spiritual master humbly, asking a question, and then you are ready to render service. That's surrender. So here, read the first 2 lines of the purport.
The path of spiritual realization is undoubtedly difficult. The Lord therefore advises us to approach a bona fide spiritual master in the line of disciplic succession from the Lord himself. No one can be a bona fide spiritual master without following this principle of disciplic succession. The Lord is the original spiritual master, and a person in the disciplic succession can convey the message of the Lord as it is to his disciple. No one can be spiritually realized by manufacturing his own process, as is the fashion of the foolish pretenders. Shall I stop, Maharaj?
The path of religion is directly enunciated by the Lord. Therefore, mental speculation or dry arguments cannot help lead one to the right path. Nor by independent study of books of knowledge can one progress in spiritual life. One has to approach a bona fide spirit. To receive the knowledge, such spiritual should be accepted in full surrender, and one should serve the spiritual master like a medial service without false prestige. Satisfaction of the spiritual master is the secret of advancement. Inquiries and submission constitute the proper combination for spiritual understanding. Unless there is submission and service, inquiries from a learned spiritual master will not be effective. listen, unless there is submission, inquiries from the will not be. One must be able to pass the spiritual master's test, and when he sees the disciples genuine, he blesses them with spiritual understanding. Both blind following and absurd inquiries are condemned. Not only should one hear submissively from the spiritual master, get a clear understanding in submission and service and inquiries. A bona fide spiritual master is very kind, but the student has to be submissive and ready to render service. Then everything, so there has to be a proper mood plus these proper activities. Otherwise, just like, where I'm speaking and you're listening, but if you're not really trying to understand what is being said and take that understanding to the point of where you can actually surrender in devotion, this could go on for millions of lifetimes and nothing could change. It's not just collecting knowledge. It's actually, the hearing process has effect, but we have to understand and follow the process. Spiritual master says, this is your service. Chant the holy name, serve the devotees. Here is your service. Then you are situated on the path of bhakti. But people don't want to do service. They want to do service when they want to do it, or what they want to do also. That won't work. Because it simply fortifies our independent attitude, which led us to the material world in the first place. We're led into the material world because we didn't want to follow Krishna in the spiritual world. So here we are. Now, again, we're not following Krishna again because we want to make up our own ways how to become Krishna conscious. It doesn't work. This is time tested and it works according to Krishna's arrangement. So study that verse and that purport. The purport is really quite thorough in describing what to do and what to avoid. And that's a unique verse in the midst of all of these other verses in Bhagavad-gita. Well, Krishna turns and starts speaking about the spiritual master. Before that, he doesn't speak much about Guru. He's in the role of a guru, and he's giving instructions to Arjuna. Now he's talking about the principle of spiritual master, which is more the principle of service to him. First, he's taking the role of a guru. Now he's talking about Guru.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you so much.
So we can't concoct, as Krishna says, give up all your own ideas and surrender. But we won't do that because we think we know. Or if we don't know, we'll still think I'll find out sooner or later. But it takes time to develop that faith. And if you chant the holy names and associate with devotees, your faith will develop nicely.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. So, Maharaj, what makes us not surrender is our own mental concoctions and our own perception of how to perform devotional services.
Lack of faith, lack of trust, lack of understanding the process of surrender.
Thank you.
But when we see persons who are surrendered and how nicely and happily they're engaged in devotional service, then we get examples. Therefore, we have to associate with devotees. Especially for those devotees that are fixed in spiritual life. Then we can see how happy and how much dedicated they are to the process of service. But the easy way is just take the words of the spiritual master and surrender, but we can't do that. That's too hard.
Thank you, Maharaj. Such a wonderful.
Even Krishna said, I made it too hard when he spoke the Gita. He even said that later. Nobody's surrendering. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya came and said, forget about surrender, just chant Hare Krishna. Just chant, dance, take prasadam, read some books, and be happy. He said, by your happiness that you experience in executing and chanting and dancing and eating prasadam, then you'll understand, yes, this is what I want. So Lord Chaitanya, he took it and turned it up practically upside down. He didn't even ask for surrender. Therefore, Maho Mahabhadanaya Krishna Prema Padayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namani Gauda Tristena Maha. The most magnanimous, the most merciful manifestation of the Supreme Lord ever, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Ridiculously easy, he made it. And still we can't do it. And then Nityananda comes along and says, all right, I'll make it even easier. So yeah, these two brothers. Ajano Lambija Bujo Kanakama Daito Sankirtanai Papitaro Kamalaya Taksa Vishwambaro Dvijabaro Yuga Dharma Follow Vande Jagatpriya Kuro Karuna Avataro, the most merciful. One day Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityanando Sanodido Gorodaya Pushpanvanto Chitra Sando Tamo Nudo. Just like the moon comes out at night and gives light to the entire sky, and the sun comes out during the day and brightens up the entire environment. So the sun and the moon have come in the form of Gaur Nitai to give complete illumination in the process of execution of devotional service. Chant, dance, and be happy. Take some prasadam.
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you so much. Suma Mataji has raised her hand. Maharaj, I will take this question. Mataji, please go.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Please accept my humble obedience and sense to you. I know I am not qualified to talk to you. Still, I have a question. Like, I usually get so many dreams. Among them, one I got stuck into. It's like I saw lotus feet, and I was stitching a cloth for them. And then I thought maybe my deity, that I have a small Krishna in my home, maybe for that I need to make, but that is a very small one, like my finger size. So I thought like, okay, what I can do with this? Maybe Radha Kalchanji, I don't know whose lotus feet it is. I have seen Radha Kalchanji almost a few months, like 2-3 months now. I wanted to go at least this week to see them. No, to show me to them. Is that is there any meaning in that? Why I am stitching clothes for them, or why I saw the lotus feet in my dream? How can I understand this?
Well, if the Lord appears to you in a dream, that's special mercy. And whatever that purifies you just immediately, simply by his presence. Whether he appears in a person or in a dream, it's the same supreme personality of Godhead. So if he's asking you to do some service, and you get that inclination in the dream, then you're fortunate. I have a picture of Radha Kalachandji here sitting on my wall. Ever since I came to Dallas last time, I was somewhat, what we say, hypnotized by his transcendental presence. And I can't forget that darshan I had in the temple one night when I saw him. It's still stuck in my mind. And then so he came to me in the form of a photo now that I keep.
Yeah.
So yeah, that deity goes back to the time of Srila Prabhupada.
Yes, Maharaj. Yeah. Jai.
Prabhupada installed Kalachandji.
Thank you, Maharaj. Suma Mataji is from Charlotte, actually. She moved from Charlotte to Dallas recently. She met you in Charlotte, Guru Maharaj. You went there home also to do a program there, and she took Bhagavad-gita.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dallas has a nice group of devotees there.
Maharaj.
And you're building another temple, so that'll be even more wonderful. More people will be able to worship.
Yeah. Their family is very regular to the new temple and programs, and she is always involved in service. Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Thank you.
Yeah, follow Kalachandji's direction there.
Trying, Maharaj. I'm trying my best.
Thank you.
All yours mercy and Krishna's mercy.
Sridevi Mataji, you have a question?
Yes, please, Srimati. Guru Maharaj, I'm still meditating on your replies about surrendering to the pure devotee of the Lord. And I'm thinking, is it good fortune that some devotees, even though they are new and even though they don't know very much, they're very simple-hearted, they're very innocent, and they accept when senior devotees tell them this is good for you, etc. For me, I was so rebellious, I was so unfortunate. I had to be really beaten up by the material energy before I submitted, before I surrendered. So is it that some people are more fortunate enough because of maybe some piety or something to surrender easily, and some people are very unfortunate that they have to get really beaten up before they surrender?
Misuse of intelligence. Says the Christian tradition, it says the meek will inherit the earth. So if your intelligence is not aligned with the words and teachings of Krishna and coming through Shastra and Guru, then your intelligence will give you so many reasons based on your own experiences, based on your own ideas. And we'll have to keep beating you up. We're still working on it. If you consider yourself surrendered, that's one of the flaws in Krishna consciousness. I'm surrendered. Devotee never thinks I'm surrender. Devotee thinks I'm trying to surrender.
Yes, Maharaj.
If you want to know surrender in one little quick, what we say, what is it called? Like an aphorism or a quick statement.
Yes, Maharaj, please.
Nobody likes this one. The spiritual master says, jump. And the disciple says, how high? That's surrender. Not a question of whether I should jump or not, but how high you want me to jump. So, in other words, if we don't have faith in the spiritual master, we can't have faith in Krishna either. Some people say, I have faith in Krishna, but I don't have faith in the spiritual master. That means you don't know who a spiritual master is. You think the spiritual master is ordinary, or he's somebody he's making up his own ideas on how he wants to teach and speak. You have to test the spiritual master and see if he's in line with whatever the words coming from Guru, Shadow, and Shastra, and from his spiritual master. So if you really want to surrender and don't want to give up your idea of intelligence and just simply surrender without understanding, then use your intelligence to understand the process of surrender. And see if you can find some flaws in that process. That's what people do. They use their intelligence to find the flaws. Then if you find flaws, then present that as your questions and get the answers. But don't just, don't say anything and then remain unsurrendered. If you're not surrendered, then find out the process of how to surrender or what it means to surrender. Therefore, you might have to inquire into that.
Yes, Guru Maharaj. My humble obeisance to you.
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you so much. Powerful points to think about. Amritram Mataji. Maharaj, is it okay? We are almost...
yeah, tonight I don't have any further
okay.
Duties to go.
Okay, Maharaj. Amritram Mataji, please go ahead.
So, Guru Maharaj, I just have one realization to share. Mostly, it's a quick one. So, mostly, this question was asked to me very frequently, and it's asked to many others also. After initiation, how things are different for you, or how do you feel, or something like that. So, very instantly we cannot answer just after initiation, but as time has gone, I can just say that for me, tests were continuous. I could not say that there were no tests at any time. So tests were continuously there. And one thing I realized is the faith for my guru has always increased after an initiation, and it has constantly increasing. So this is very prominent thing that I have faced after initiation. So
that means you passed the tests that were given to you.
Oh, is it? I don't know that, but yeah, I really feel grateful, Guru Maharaj, after the initiation. Sometimes it's not even I cannot even describe in words how do I feel that gratefulness. So thank you very much.
Because you're sincere and you wanted to know what is the right thing, you were able to get the knowledge by which you were able to pass the tests. Sincerity is the key. Nectar Devotion gives that very simple statement. Success in bhakti really depends on sincerity.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. And I think I wish the same for all those who have taken initiations and who are going to take initiation next. So, Hare Krishna. I wish all of them the same.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji, for sharing that. Thank you. Dear devotees, any more questions or comments? Maharaj, Rishabh Prabhu is asking, can we make few sessions on Sankirtan topic as in preparation for the upcoming Srila Prabhupada Marathon?
I'll answer him privately.
Yes, Maharaj.
And not publicly. He's making it public. So whatever I say, he's going to hold me to it. But I'll deal with him privately.
Yes, Maharaj.
That's a very good tactic, Rishabh. I mean, that's really good preaching. But I can see through your program.
Even I'm not sure what I did, but you know better.
Well, you asked in front of all of the devotees, so whatever I say, I have to be accountable for. So therefore, in order to understand the yes and no answer, we have to come to that we have to discuss it to come to the point of understanding what we want to do or not do. But that can't be done right now.
I apologize.
No, that's okay. That's good. I know you're a Sankirtan devotee, so you use these tactics. It's very good. But don't try them on me, please.
Trying to be a Sankirtan.
Maharaj, there is a comment by Sukhava Mataji. She is saying that Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances, all goes to Prabhupada. Sometimes due to so many different thoughts put in our minds, which makes it difficult to surrender. But with our eagerness, Krishna does help and puts us on right path.
Yeah, if you stay sincere, if you want to know what is right and you want to know what the truth, then you'll get that answer if you really want to. But if you want some answer that you already have a preconceived idea of what you want to hear, that's insincerity. Then when you actually hear the right answer, you won't be able to accept it. Or you won't want to accept it. So you have to be open to, my dear Lord, I surrender to you. Please guide me. We have to realize how much can we do. Our efforts in devotional service are accepted by Krishna. And based on the quality of how we approach him, he's going to reciprocate. As he says, Yeyatam mam prapadyate tam sadaiva bhajami aham. As you approach me, I reward you. So if you have a motivation, even if you're not even aware of the fact that you have a motivation, but you do, that will be noted by Krishna. And you won't be able to get the answer that actually is beneficial for you. But if you have no motivation, you're just willing to accept whatever is given, and you're willing to carry it out, then everything will be clear. And it'll be easy also. Duplicity, hypocrisy, all of these things pollute the whole process of devotional service.
Maharaj. Maharaj, but when you are saying that if you want to find out what is the surrendering process, but how do we know that the devotees around us are surrendered or they are in the process of surrendering? Senior devotees.
Well, if you're eager for devotional service and you're losing your attachment to material activities, that means you're making advancement and you're surrendering.
Mhm.
You're developing the qualities of the Vaishnavas, such as humility, tolerance, pridelessness, respect for all living entities, not moved by happiness and distress, simplicity, cleanliness, truthfulness. If these qualities are starting to manifest more, then you're also surrendering.
Mm. Yes, Maharaj. Thank you. Rishabh Prabhu, you have a question?
Krishna, dear Maharaj, my obeisances are pledged to you and all the Vaishnavas. I was intrigued by the sentence about using intelligence wrongly because
Prabhuji,
you can hear me?
we are not
well,
able to hear you properly. Can you
yeah,
stand,
but
please?
yeah, if you can stand in one place and talk, don't keep moving.
So is this better?
Yeah, if you don't walk, then it's easy.
Okay. So regarding the intelligence, because knowing the process and gaining knowledge about the process is one thing, but attitude is another thing. And it is mentioned that progress in spiritual life is based on the attitude of the practitioner. So my question is, we gain knowledge by reading, but how do we gain a proper attitude? What is the process?
I mean, cultivating those moods that are proper. Vaishnav culture, Vaishnav behavior, Vaishnav qualities. These build the proper mood. But it's essential that go to Srimad Bhagavad-gita, chapter 13, verse number 8. 13, 8 to 12. It's actually 5 verses in one. Krishna lists the 20 items of knowledge. It's a long, yeah, keep going down. Yeah. He listens and he says, and then he goes on, humility, pridelessness, non-violence, he goes, detachment, accepting the importance of self-realization, and philosophical search for the absolute truth. All these I declare to be knowledge, and besides this, whatever there may be is in ignorance. So he gives the whole thing there. Let's see, what is that one point that Prabhupada makes? Accepting the importance of self-realization and philosophical search for the absolute truth. These seem to be the foundation for which all of the other ones spring from.
Do you want me to go to the purport, Maharaj?
There's one thing. Oh yeah. Maya Charanan Yogena Bhakti Avyaricharini. The process, here, go down the page a little more. The other way, you're going the wrong way. Down the page, right there. The process of knowledge terminates in unalloyed devotional service to the Lord. So that's the essence there. To surrender to the spiritual master. So one does not approach the Lord by approaching his representative, then all of these other good qualities don't have any. The principle of accepting the spiritual master is accepting means following. It's not just some kind of joining a club and getting a name. That's not following the spiritual master. Here, Krishna clearly states this is the problem. Anything speculated beyond this is nonsense. So here's the whole process is somewhat summarized right here. And then Prabhupada goes on to explain each of the qualities and their different definitions. So you're asking about how to develop the mood? If you surrender, the mood will come. But you have to use your intelligence. How to surrender? That means, all right, I'm given instructions, but how best can I carry it out? Therefore, relevant inquiries in the process of execution one's service will help develop the proper mood. But what is the mood? Rupa Goswami says to please the spiritual master, to please the Supreme Lord. That's the mood. A devotee has to be following those instructions with a desire to please the spiritual master, because the spiritual master is pleased, Krishna is pleased, if you simply follow the instructions. Love will come later, may not come at the beginning, but this is the process by which love will eventually develop. Just become attached to the instructions of the spiritual master and be attached to carrying it out.
Sometimes, Maharaj, we see young devotees that they are they have problems following authorities. I guess the point you were saying, surrender. We want to be. We think we are surrendering to Krishna. We even maybe think that we are surrendered to Guru, but then we are not surrendering to any authority other than that. I mean, it sounds like an Ishta level, but it's kind of goes along with what you're saying.
Well, if you're working under the guidance of the spiritual master's representative, you surrender to him and you're surrendering to the spiritual master. So where's the contradiction? The temple authority is the representative of the spiritual master for the devotee to carry out service.
I find it also kind of enlivening that we kind of think that Guru, and this is like this low level of Guru and Krishna only, but it's such an enlivening thing to surrender to be a servant of a servant of a servant, and surrender to any authority that is given to us, and practice this surrender to authority as a concept, not necessarily as a as an individual person.
It's both. Because this is a personal movement. We're not dealing just with concepts, we're dealing with persons. Everything is personal. Devi, you have another question?
Please go.
Yes, Guru Maharaj, as you rightly pointed out, we must be in this mood of I'm not surrendered, I'm trying to surrender. Thank you for correcting that. I have a question. What if one thinks one is surrendered and doesn't even know what areas they are not surrendered? They're unaware. We think we are surrendered, but we are actually not. So, how can we rectify this and improve our level of surrender?
Learn. Learn the surrendering process. Bhaktivinoda Thakur gives Manaso Deo Geho. Yukichu more Arpilu tu Alpade Nandakishore. He says, he explains the surrendering process in terms of his own situation. My home, my family, my, what else did he say? My very body, my possessions, it's all yours. They belong to you. So he goes down the whole list. At least he gives a short list. Some others say give a longer list of all of the things that I have, but they actually are yours. They come from you, and they're meant to be used for your service. So time, intelligence, words, opulences, possessions, all of these things are things that are somewhat under our control to a small degree. So we give up the idea that they're ours and they're meant for our enjoyment. And we use them in the service of the Lord. And that art can be understood directly from the spiritual master. We think our time is our time. And if I give time to Krishna, then I'm giving him some of my time. But if he asks you to surrender and you say, I don't have any time, that means you're not giving him what belongs to him anyway.
Thank you.
Can
Maharaj.
anyone say what is actually theirs that hasn't been given to them? Name something that hasn't been given to you, that is actually coming from you exclusively.
My stupidity.
Well, that you have to give up.
Love, Raj.
Hmm?
Love.
Sorry. Prabhuji, can you repeat again?
Love.
Love?
Love.
Well, because you're part and parcel of Krishna, and Krishna is the embodiment of all love, you also have an element of love within you. But because you're part of him, therefore you have that love. Therefore it's coming from him anyway.
Okay.
Can we say desire is coming from within, out of our free will?
Krishna says that he is Swarat, but the living entity is part and parcel of Krishna, so he's also minutely in the element of Swarat also. So he gives you your free choice. That's all. That's all you have is free choice. Everything else is coming from him, directly or indirectly. He says, Sarvasya Jaham Hridisani Vistom, but that's Smirti Gyanamapo. You want knowledge, I give it. If you want remembrance, I give it. If you want to forget, I also give that. He says, I am the ability in all living entities. Whatever abilities you have, that's coming from me. So everything is given to us by Krishna, and he allows us to use these things for our own livelihood in the material world. But we also know all these things are borrowed from him. They don't belong to us. They just allow us to live in this world. But he gives you the free will. That he can take your free will away, but he doesn't. He won't do that because the basis of love is choice. Therefore, he won't interfere with our free will, because in order to show love, we have to actually voluntarily offer love to Krishna, and not that he simply forces us. He can force you, but then that's not his program. Program is that everything should be done out of knowledge, out of surrender. That's why we have so much philosophical discussion. What is all this philosophy meant to? To come to the point of surrender, that's all.
Thank you, Maharaj. Dear devotees, any more questions or comments?
Revati has one on the chat.
Okay.
Continue, I'm still here.
Yes, Maharaj. Revati Mataji is asking, Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you for the class. If one has moved to understanding, to surrender, but lack determination or ability to execute the sent person instructions, how should we strengthen our determination, and also will Krishna give ability to execute them?
Determination is a feature of the will. Make your determination in the line with the instructions of the spiritual master, then it becomes easy. But if you're not strong in your desire for surrender, if you have so many attachments yet, or so many conceptions about how to surrender, then you won't develop full determination, or that determination which is necessary. Clear your doubts. Krishna says, for the doubting soul, there's neither happiness in this world nor in the next. But I think your question is, I'm surrendering, I'm doing my best to surrender, but I'm not fully surrendered yet. Just keep going. I think that's pretty much your mood. Sometimes we get into this mood of wanting to surrender completely, ultimately, everything. As soon as we realize that's the actual goal. You have to work towards that process of complete surrender. So when you have many other things part of your life, you have to see how to connect these things along with your own consciousness to the process of service. It's based on consciousness, but it's based on using that proper consciousness in practical activity. What is that consciousness? That I am, just like we sing. What is it? What is that verse? Let's see. Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chite Te Koriyaya. On that one. Anar Karina Manias. Let's see. Janme Janme Prabhu say. What is that? Dibigyan Ride Prakasita. So that verse. What is that? What's the line that precedes that one?
Chakshudan diloje janme janme Prabhu se.
Chakshudan dilo ye janme janme. Prabhu say. So he is my Lord, verse after verse. He's opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. So, and then he's div gyan. Div means transcendental. Gyan means knowledge. Divigyan ride prakasita. What is that div gyan that the spiritual master is giving? What is the essence of that div gyan? He's given so much knowledge, but what is the essence? That line is sung by Narottam Das Thakur, really illustrates the essence of the spiritual master's teachings. You belong to Krishna. Not to anything in this world, not to anyone in this world, not to anything else. You belong to Krishna. Divigyan, so that transcendental knowledge is you belong to Krishna. Nowhere else, no one else, nothing. That is the essence of his teachings. So when you understand that, at least to some degree, and you practice that mood, that I'm giving everything to Krishna because I belong to Krishna. I don't belong to this family or this country or this society or this club or this nation or this, family. I belong to Krishna. That's Dibgyan. That's the essence. So to come to that stage is the process of bhakti. See, the spiritual master gives you the goal and the process to reach the goal. He's given both. Not that the goal is defined later on. No, he tells you the goal so you can focus on what is the goal. And at the same time, he gives you the process of how to reach the goal. But if you don't know the goal, then you don't know where the process is going to lead you. And you may decide to make your own, goal separate from the actual goal. So to know the goal is Prema Pumartam Brahman, to awaken our natural love for Krishna and to go back to the spiritual world and to associate with Krishna eternally. That's the goal.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
But then the process is how to get there. So some people want to go to the goal before they actually have purified themselves through the process. That's nice, but then it's like charging the gates of heaven. As one Sachinandana Maharaj would say, the door to eternal life has a handle on the inside, not on the outside. You can't open it. It has to be opened for you from the inside. You have to be let in when you're qualified to come in. And that's the process of purifying ourselves through the process of pure devotional service. So I can respect your question, Revati, because I think you want to get to you want to fly into the spiritual world today, but stay with the process, and gradually you'll taste the happiness that comes increments by increments as it increases as you move forward towards the ultimate goal.
Thank you very much, Guru Maharaj. All your blessings and mercy. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Dear devotees, any more questions? Sakshi Mataji, you raised your hand previously. You still want to go?
I just wanted to ask Maharaj, what is the way to, how to get ourselves free from the attachments and the motivations which are blocking our way to surrender? But I think I got my answer. Just keep.
Let's end with one real nice verse. You can, it's Srimad Bhagavatam 3:25-25.
Yes, Maharaj.
There's so many powerful verses that kind of illustrate the essence of the process. This one is not only does it talk about the process, it talks about by engaging in these things, now you're situated on the path of pure devotional service. Satam prasangam mama virya samvido bhavanti ritkarna rasayana kata tajosanat asvapa varga vartmani srada ratir bhaktir anukramishyati. Read the translation, someone.
In the association of pure devotees, discussion of the pastimes and activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is very pleasing and satisfying to the ear and the heart. By cultivating such knowledge, one gradually becomes advanced on the path of liberation, and thereafter he is freed and his attraction becomes fixed. Then real devotion and devotional service begin. The process of advancing in Krishna consciousness and devotional service is described here. The first point is that one must seek the association of persons who are Krishna conscious and who engage in devotional service. Without such association, one cannot make advancement. Simply by theoretical knowledge or study, one cannot make any appreciable advancement. One must give up the association of materialistic persons and seek the association of devotees, because without the association of devotees, one cannot understand the activities of the Lord. Generally, people are convinced of the impersonal feature of the absolute truth. Because they do not associate with devotees, they cannot understand that the absolute truth can be a person and have personal activities. This is a very difficult subject matter, and unless one has personal understanding of the absolute truth, there is no meaning to devotion. Service or devotion cannot be offered to anything impersonal. Service must be offered to a person. Non-devotees cannot appreciate Krishna consciousness by reading the Srimad Bhagavatam or any other Vedic literature, wherein the activities of the Lord are described. They think that these activities are fictional, manufactured stories, because spiritual life is not explained to them in the proper mood. To understand the personal activities of the Lord, one has to seek the association of devotees, and by such association, when one contemplates and tries to understand the transcendental activities of the Lord, the path to liberation is open and he is freed. One who has firm faith in the Supreme Personality of Godhead becomes fixed, and his attraction for association with the Lord and the devotees increases. Association with devotees means association with the Lord. The devotee who makes this association develops the consciousness for rendering service to the Lord, and then being situated in the transcendental position of devotional service, he gradually becomes perfect.
Hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord in the association of devotees. Okay.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Okay, we can stop
Thank
here,
you.
I guess.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you so much. Such a wonderful class and very powerful points today, and very thought-provoking class, Maharaj. Thank you so much. Dear devotees, thank you for participating in the question answer session. We'll all see you again tomorrow. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada jai.
Jai.
Jai. Thank you so
Guru
much.
Maharaj ki jai.
Maharaj ki jai, Hare Krishna.
Thank you
so much,
everyone. Hare
Guru
Krishna.
Maharaj. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you
all the
so much,
devotees.
Guru
Hare
Maharaj, for a
Krishna.
wonderful discussion.